general in the IELTS listening. And today we will look at flowchart completion question type. I will be sharing with you some tips and strategies to solve this question type, and together we will look at some questions and answers together. If you have any questions, you can write it from the chat part, or you can use the raise hand option, and you can unmute yourself and ask it. I will be here to listen you and answer you. Yes, let me share the tips and strategies. The questions come in the same order as the audio. So, first, you will hear the answer for question 1, then you will hear the answer for question 2, and it will go on like this. Look for paraphrasing and the synonyms, because maybe for example, they will give you a box of words, and in this box of words they will be used some synonyms and some paraphrasing, and it will be like the pill information. It will give you just one sentence and a blank place to write the answer. Pay attention to the word limit, because they are doing it too. They are maybe they are asking for only you. Maybe you are allowed to write just 2 words, and if you write more than 2 words, you won't get any points. Check if the word you choose matches with the grammatical structure of the sentence. So if it is, if for the that blank, if there should be a noun, and if you write a verb, you won't get point, and it can help you to look at the questions before the audio, so you will understand. You can just um, pin it that there should be a noun, so you will be listening for a noun. Check the spelling after you finish, when you are transferring your answer, or while you are doing it after the audio. Please check your spellings and don't lose points because of the spelling. Pay attention to the meaning, because there will be paraphrasing and synonyms again. And use the capital letters correctly. The names, days, government names, these things starts with a capital letters, so you should be careful about writing them with capital letters. Watch out for distractors. For example, in the audio, you will hear many things. For example, you will hear something, but it will say, but it was different on that day. And pay attention to the question. You should do what is asked in the question. Don't leave any question unanswered, because if you don't do that question, you won't get any points for sure, but you can make an educated guess. You can just guess it from the audio or from your knowledge. And if you don't know the answer, if you miss that part, please write something, make an educated guess, and fill that blank, so maybe you can get a point from there. If you don't have any questions, I will continue with our audio. Yes, this is one type of flowchart questions. As you can see, let me see. Yes. As you can see, we have a box of words, and we have some blanks to fill. In this one, you are given the word, and let me see, this is question 21 to 26, so it is from the part 2. You are given some words, and you are going to fill these blanks with that word. This is an interactive lesson. You will be answering the questions. When I hear the answer, I will stop the audio, and you can answer it from the chat parts. Now let me see. Let me read the questions first. It says research, locate and read relevant articles, noting key information and also something. Noting key information and noting some things. Identify a problem or need. Select interviewers. These may be cite something, visitors or city employees, city officials. So you now you have like eliminate the answers to prepare and carry out interviews. If possible, collect statistic. Check whether of interviews can be used. Check whether names, patterns, questions. It can be. Select relevant information and try to identify something. Decide on the best form of visuals. And we are at the writing the case study. Give some background before writing the main sections. Do not end with. So maybe we should pay attention to here. It says do not end with. Maybe they will say end with something. We should end with something. But however, we shouldn't end with something. So we will pay attention to here. Now I am starting the audio. When I hear the answer, I will stop the audio.
Cambridge English, IELTS 12, Test 7. Section 3. You will hear two tourism students, called Natalie and Dave, talking about the tourism case study they are doing. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
Sorry, I miscalculated it. Yes, it is from the section 3. It starts with the question 21. You will always have some time to look at the questions. Let's look at them.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Dave, I'm worried about our case study. I've done a bit of reading, but I'm not sure what's involved in actually writing a case study. I missed the lecture where Dr. Baker talked us through it.
OK, well, it's quite straightforward. We've got our focus. That's tourism at the Horton Castle site. And you said you'd done some reading about it?
Yes, I found some articles and made notes of the main points.
Did you remember to keep a record of where you got the information from?
Sure, I know what a pain it is when you forget that.
OK, so we can compare what we've read.
Okay, do you have any answer for this question? Yes. Any other person who wants to answer except Anjali? Do you want to listen to the audio again? If you want, we can listen to it again. Let's listen to it again.
Dave, I'm worried about our case study. I've done a bit of reading, but I'm not sure what's involved in actually writing a case study. I missed the lecture where Dr. Baker talked us through it.
OK, well, it's quite straightforward. We've got our focus. That's tourism at the Horton Castle site. And you said you'd done some reading about it?
Yes, I found some articles and made notes of the main points.
Did you remember to keep a record of where you got the information from?
Sure, I know what a pain it is when you forget that.
OK, so we can compare what we've read. Then we have to decide.
How about this time? It says Did you remember taking notes and where the articles are from? They can be a little bit pain when you forget the resources. I will take it back again. Wait,
Ma'am, it's sources.
sources, yes. It is. Let us listen it again because because it is section 3. There are lots of paraphrasing. It is so normal that if you can't get the answer, let's listen to it again. And don't worry, the first question always the most difficult one because you are getting used to the audio.
Yes, I found some articles and made notes of the main points.
Did you remember to keep a record of where you got the information from?
Sure, I know what a pain it is when you forget that.
Okay, so we can...
Yes, it is just paraphrasing. It says it doesn't say key information, but it says something. And also where they find this information, so it makes my answer sources. It doesn't say it, but it says resources. When they give something like this, when they give a box, there will be lots of paraphrasing. But if they don't give a box, you can just write what you have heard in the audio. Yes, it is sources. So it is what? C. 21 is C. Let's continue. It says identify a problem or a need. Select interviews. This may be site something, visitors, or city something. So they will make interview with someone and they are deciding on who will be that interviewers.
and compare what we've read. Then we have to decide on a particular problem or need at our site. And then think about who we're going to interview to get more information.
Okay, so who'd that be? The people who work there? And presumably some of the tourists too?
Yes, both those groups. So we'll have to go to the site to do that, I suppose. But we might also do some of our interviewing away from the site. We could even contact some people here in the city, like administrators involved in overseeing tourism.
Okay, so
Yes. And what is 22? Yes. E and H. 22 is site employees and 23 is city administrators. No, officials, sorry. In the audio, it says administrators. And in our word box, it says officials. Yes, very good. Let's see. Employees. 22 is E. And 23 is H. And don't forget, we are not writing the words, we are just writing the letters of it because in our question, and write the correct letter A to H next to the question 21 and 26. So it is asking for letters, not the words. Don't write the words. Let's continue.
So we'll need to think about our interview questions and fix times and places for the meetings. It's all going to take a lot of time.
And if we can, we should ask our interviewees if they can bring along some numerical data that we can add to support our findings.
And photographs?
I think we have plenty of those already. But Dr. Baker also said we have to establish with our interviewees whether we can identify them in our case study or whether they want to be anonymous.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Why did you say patterns? Okay, I see. Okay, I have understand. Did you see it in the later of the text? But it is good that you want to answer it so quickly, so you won't miss anything. Yes, keep on doing that. Let's listen to it again. It says, check whether they use whether to of interviews can be used. So they want to use something, they want to include something in their case study. Let's listen to it again.
And if we can, we should ask our interviewees if they can bring along some numerical data that we can add to support our findings.
And photographs?
I think we have plenty of those already. But Dr. Baker also said we have to establish with our interviewees whether we can identify them in our case study or whether they want to be anonymous.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that.
They will ask if they can do something or they want to be anonymous. So anonymous means that you don't give your name, you don't reveal your name, your identity to anyone. You are anonymous. And so it makes my answer names. How about the others? Is this clear for you? Do you want me to explain it better? Do you want to listen to it again? What do you think? So I will continue from here. Okay, great.
Them in our case study or whether they want to be anonymous.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Okay, once we've got all this information, I suppose we have to analyse it.
Yes, put it all together and choose what's relevant to the problem we're focusing on and analyse that carefully to find out if we can identify any trends or regularities there. That's the main thing at this stage, rather any trends or regularities there. That's the main thing at this stage, rather than concentrating on details or lots of facts.
Okay, and then once we've analysed that, what next?
Well, then we need to think about what we do with the data we've selected to make it as clear as possible to our readers. Things like graphs or tables or charts.
Right.
Then, the case study itself is mostly quite standard. We begin by presenting the problem and giving some background, then go through the main sections. But the thing that surprised me is that in a normal report, we'd end with some suggestions to deal with the problem or need we identified. But in a case study, we end up with a question or a series of questions to our readers.
It was a little bit difficult because, like I said, it says do not end with something. Let's listen to it again. Let's listen to it again.
things like graphs or tables or charts.
Right.
Then the case study itself is mostly quite standard. We begin by presenting the problem and giving some background, then go through the main sections. But the thing that surprised me is that in a normal report, we'd end with some suggestions to deal with the problem or need we identified. But in a case study, we end up with a question or a series of questions to our readers.
The questions. It says in a normal. Whoa, again I have so different answers. It says we do not end with something. This is a case study, and they are saying in a normal study, normal something, we would end up with some questions or questions, but in this one, we are ending with something, and it is asking me what they are not ending. So I have two information in a normal study and in a case study. Let's listen to it again.
Presenting the problem and giving some background, then go through the main sections. But the thing that surprised me is that in a normal report, we'd end with some suggestions to deal with the problem or need we identified. But in a case study, we end up with a question or a series of questions to our readers.
Okay, so they are ending with questions. What they are not ending with is solutions. Ay. Yes, solutions. So it makes my answer F. Like this. Very good. Let's continue from the next one. As I said, I think I have seen it too. The trickiest part was the first question because it is always difficult somehow because you are getting used to the audio. But don't worry, it will give you time at the beginning of the audio. For example, what was their names? For example, Natalie was saying, I am very worried about our case study, and they was giving information. And this is from section 3. They were two people were speaking on an academic subject. Most probably, you will came across an audio like this in your exam too. And the most trickiest one was the last question because it says do not end with. So I should be careful about what is said, and after the audio finished, you can think in it with a clear mind because now that audio is finished, they put it in the end because it was the trickiest one. When the audio ends, you with a clear mind you can try to understand get the meaning and answer it because we have heard two things. It doesn't say solution, it does say something else, but we have heard the questions. So revising the answers is really important. Okay, let's continue. In this one, you will hear a trainer giving a talk to the people who want to learn outdoor survival skills. Okay, complete the flowchart below, and these are the and write the correct letter again. This type of 11 to 16. Okay, this is from part 2. So I can assume that it will be a little bit easier than the previous one. It says making a stream pit. What is this? I don't know. Stream. Dig a pit. Arrange a row of something over the pit. Place something on top. Okay. light the wood and let it burn out, remove something, insert a stick, cover the pit with something, place the wrapped food on top and cover it with something, remove the stick and put something into the hole. Oof. So it is a process. They are telling a process, like the women or men, I don't know who. They are telling a process, and flowcharts are like this. They are telling you a process. For example, olive oil production. I will use it for the next flowchart lesson. There's a process going on. So they are telling this process. Okay, when I hear the answers, I will stop it. Let me check my time. Okay, and I have added some extra questions here too. So there are like 6 flowchart questions, right? Yes, there are 6 flowchart question types. Then we have choose 2 letters, multiple choice questions. I will just read the question to you. Which 2 characteristics apply to the bamboo oven? So they will talk about something about bamboo oven. Please listen carefully. And which 2 pieces of advice does the speaker give about eating wild fungi? Fungi is mushroom. I hope that you know that. So these are extra questions. So it is like the whole part 2. Let's start.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our outdoor survival program. As you know, this week you'll be learning some of the basic information and skills you need to look after yourself independently in the outdoors. These first 2 days will be based here in the classroom, and then we'll be taking a camping trip to put into practice some of the things you've learned. I'm going to start off with the topic of food. And to start with, I'll describe just 2 methods which we'll be putting into practice at our camp, and which make use of natural resources, the steam pit and the bamboo pot. I've got 2 posters here to make things clearer, and I'll start with the steam pit here. To make this, you'll need some dry sticks, some grass, some loose earth, and some stones. And for this week only, some matches. The first thing you do is to dig a shallow pit in the place you've chosen to do your cooking. Let's say about 25 centimeters deep and 30 centimeters wide. Your sticks have to be a bit wider than the pit because you have to put a line of them along the top from one end of the pit to the other. Before to the other. Before setting light to these, you take some large stones and arrange them on top. Then you start the fire. Large stones and arrange them on top. Then you start the fire and wait till the wooden platform burns through and the stones fall into the pit. At this point, brush away any pieces of hot ash from the stones. You can use a handful of grass and then take another stick
Okay, I have sent the options from the chat part. Some of them we have used already. For example, we have used ash, stones, and sticks. Sorry, it is a little bit mixed up, but I hope that it's okay. Insert a stick, cover the pit with something.
And push it down into the center of the pit, between the stones. After that, brush away any pieces of hot ash from the stones. You can use a handful of grass, and then take another stick and push it down into the center of the pit, between the stones. After that, you cover the whole pit with a thick layer of grass. And then you can put your food on it, wrapped in more.
Very good. Yes, it is grass. So D is gone too. Very good.
Layer of grass. And then you can put your food on it, wrapped in more pieces of grass, like parcels. Finally, cover the whole thing with earth. You have to pat it firmly to seal the pit. Parcels. Finally, cover the whole thing with earth. You have to pat it firmly to seal the pit. Then all you have to do is take the stick out and pour a bit of water into the opening that it leaves. It should take about
Yes, as you can see, this one was much more easier. And if you have seen this question type in the part 1 or 2, it will they will be much more easier. And if you see it in the part 3 or 4, it will be like a little bit more challenging, but they will give you a word bank and you will choose it from here. This one we did so good. Yes, it was much more easier. There were less paraphrasing. They have used much more less synonyms and so on. Okay, let's look at our other questions. Choose two letters. Which two characteristics apply to the bamboo oven? It is suitable for windy weather. The fire is lit below the bottom end of the bamboo. The fire is lit, it is on fire, below the bottom end of the bamboo. The bamboo is cut into equal lengths. The oven hangs from a stick and it cooks food by steaming it. This is a different type of question, but I think we can do it.
4 hours for your food to cook, as it cooks slowly in the steam that's created inside the pit. Simple, but effective. The other method you're going to practice this week is the
On to, you couldn't understand which part? The question type, in which section are they coming from, or are you talking about a specific question? Let's please use the chat box for the lesson purposes and nothing else. Onto, if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask it to me. Last part, If you come across this question type, the flowchart questions in the part 1 and 2, there will be less paraphrasing, so you will hear them directly. You will hear them directly, and for the other parts, if you come across this one in the part 3 or 4, there will be much more paraphrasing and it will be difficult, but you will see a word box like this, like in this part, and you can choose the words from there. So they are like they are balancing the questions. Let's continue.
The other method you're going to practice this week is the bamboo oven. Now, the steam pit is ideal in certain conditions because the heat is below ground level. For example, if there's a strong wind and you're afraid a fire might spread. But when it's safe to have an open fire, you can use the bamboo oven method. You get a length of bamboo, which, as you probably know, is hollow and consists of a number of individual sections with a wall in between. You use a sharp stick to make a hole in each of the dividing walls apart from the end one. Then you lean the bamboo over a fire with the top propped up by a forked stick and the bottom sitting on the ground. You pour enough water in the top to fill the bottom section and then light a fire underneath that section to heat the water. Then you put your food inside the top section and the steam coming up the bamboo through the holes you made cooks it. I'm going to move on now to food itself.
Let's listen. Yes, one of them is, you are right, one of them is E, right? It cooks by steaming it, yes. Let's listen for the other one too. The second one, the fire lit below the bottom end of the, very good.
Yes,
One. Yes, you are right. These ones. Let's listen to it again and let's see like how it will be. Yes, very correct. Okay, this is choose two like your question, so we will choose two options.
Light a fire underneath that section to heat the water. A sharp stick to make a hole. Length of bamboo, which, as you probably know, is hollow and consists of a number of individual sections with a wall in between. You use a sharp stick to make a hole in each of the dividing walls apart from the end one. Then you lean the bamboo over a fire with the top propped up by a forked stick and the bottom sitting on the ground. You pour enough water in the top to fill the bottom section and then light a fire underneath that section to heat the water. Then you put your food inside the top section and the steam coming up the bamboo through the holes you made cooks it. I'm going to move on now.
It doesn't directly says like it will be like below the bottom of the end, but it says something. It says a sentence, then link this sentence to the other sentence with this, and it says like the steam will come from it. And yes, it is like make my options A, B, C, D. It makes my option B and E. I don't know why I haven't written them, but it makes my options B and E. Let's continue. Now we will listen something about eating wild fungi. This is a little bit tricky to pay attention.
To food itself and talk about some of the wild plants you might cook. I'm going to begin with fungi. That's mushrooms and toadstools. I'm sure you'll be aware that some of these are edible and they're delicious, but some of them are highly poisonous. Now, whether they're poisonous or not, all fungi that you find in the wild should be cooked before eating, because that helps to destroy any compounds in them that might be mildly toxic. But be aware that any amount of cooking won't make poisonous varieties any safer to eat. Unless you can definitely identify a fungus, you should never eat it. It's not worth the risk. And you need to be really sure, because some fungi that are poisonous are very similar in appearance to certain edible varieties. They can easily be mistaken for each other. So, having said all that, fungi are delicious when they're freshly picked, and although they are only moderately nutritious, they do contain minerals which the body needs. I'll move on now to leafy plants.
And this was the end of my section. C and D. Why did you say C? What is C? Wild fungi are highly nutritious. It doesn't say wild fungi. It says fungi. Fungi. Sorry. I have learned it as fungi, so I couldn't change it. It doesn't say wild ones. She says it for all of the fungus. If you want, we can listen to that part again. Yes, but my answer is A. Cooking doesn't make poisonous fungi edible, and it says D. Some edible fungi look very similar to poisonous varieties. So if you are not certain about it, do not eat them. Yes, please do not eat wild fungi, because I know people that they are affected by that poisonous fungus, and it is very deadly. Okay, if you have any question about the questions about the IELTS, about the listening, about the Clasital, you can let me stop the screen share. You can ask me. I will be here. And this is our post lesson survey. You can do it from here too. Like, you can roll. Why is it happening like this? If you want, you can do it from here too. So I will be very glad if you can do our post lesson survey. My name is Burçin. I am on the, let me see, first in the first row in the second question. I will be very glad if you can fill our form if you have any suggestions or so. And when you have done the survey, we can leave slowly. Thank you very much for joining. I hope that you get helpful information from this classroom. I hope that I could help you. Thank you too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anjali, for coming. If you want to practice, we have some practice materials at Classitals too, at the library. Let me copy and send it to you too. You can practice from here. Thank you very much, Suman. Hope to see you soon. Then, see you everyone.